the Demo, another victory show, talking everything Arizona State football. I'm the RyKno, Ryan Knowles. Here with me, as always, my partner in crime, Big John Caldwell. Big John.
Hey. All right.
Good forks up to you, sir. Another week talking everything Arizona State football. As we say here on RWD, you give us 30 minutes, we give you the world of Arizona State football. And that's what we're going to do here tonight, talking everything ASU. Another exhilarating, close, back and forth victory for the Sun Devils this past Saturday night at Mountain America Stadium as they top the UCF Knights 35-31. Just a crazy game. Big John had a little bit of everything. If you're a college football fan, you definitely enjoyed that game, I'll say.
And really, and Kenny even said this before I said it. We had no business winning the game, but we found a way.
Yeah, you look at the numbers, and the Knights just dominated almost every facet of this game.
They did.
But Devils made a couple big plays. They executed on special teams, whereas UCF made a couple blunders. And that ultimately turned out to be the difference as the Devils win 35-31 to improve to 7-2 and move into a tie for third in the Big 12. And one of those coveted top two spots, the spot in the Big 12 championship game, are within sight. They do need a little bit of help, and they need to win out, which is not going to be an easy task against when you got a couple of ranked teams coming up the next 2 weeks. But the Devils have a shot. And that's all you're really looking for if you're ASU and an ASU fan at this point, is just, considering where this team was expected to be, they're basically playing with house money at this point, John.
They are. And really, you can really sense that these guys like playing for each other. They love playing for each other. And they have totally, and this is not just me, every national pundit who is seeing them for the first time says they are playing like they've adopted Kenny's, his persona.
Yeah.
Not quit.
Yeah, it's showing through in their play. It's showing through in their body language and the way they treat each other on the sideline. It's legit, and they're definitely going all out every single play, and it's showing, and that's why they've had success and won some games that ASU teams in the past might have lost. This is a game an ASU team in the past might not have executed down in crunch time, but ASU manages to win up there. This game was a crazy game. As I mentioned, 5 lead changes, and when you look at UCF's stats, 406 yards of total offense compared to ASU's 260, 26 first downs compared to ASU's 18. Those 2 fourth downs that they converted, resulted in touchdowns. They had 3 more minutes of possession time. Just a lot of things going UCF's way, but they didn't execute at crucial points. They had a lot of penalties. They had 2 missed field goals, both went off the uprights.
Yeah.
ASU's defense, didn't really pass the eye test on third down, but the numbers are, say a different story. And we knew he was one of the best running backs in the country coming into the game. So you had to know what to expect with running back RJ Harvey, who had himself a nice game, 25 carries, 127 yards, and 3 touchdowns. But ASU came out and, even though they were down, when they got down 7-0, they come out and make a big play on special teams that really helped set the tone for the rest of the game when Martell Hughes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Martell Hughes comes through and just gets one hand up and blocks the punt, and Montana Warren scoops it up and takes it in for a touchdown. And Hughes, for his effort, was named the Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Week. These are a couple guys who don't really get a lot of headlines, don't really talked about. They're young guys.
Special teams.
But really great to see them contribute on special teams.
Yeah, and going back to an earlier point about time of possession, it was actually greater than 2-1 going about midway through the third.
Yes, it was. That's right.
At halftime, first quarter, they dominated. Second quarter, we're still down 2-1 time.
Their first touchdown drive took up half the first quarter. There was 7.5 minutes left. I was so frustrated with that they couldn't get off the field. And we'll talk about that in a minute. Just the defense's approach on third down when it was obvious. It was pretty obvious passing down, frankly, and they were just letting their UCF's young quarterback just sit back and kind of play pitch and catch along the sidelines. And, we'll get into that here in a minute. But, Kyson Brown starting in place of Cam Scattaboo, that was a big headline coming into the game. He had a decent game. The first half he was pretty good. And he finished with 18 carries for 73 yards. But hats off to UCF's rush defense. We talked about their front. They had a couple guys in Lee Hunter and Barber, their other D tackle, who were solid. Were good players, and we kind of expected them to play well. But they, in the second half, they really showed up and made ASU basically a one-dimensional team offensively.
I'm glad you mentioned these last three guys for his Dorba fight and Kongaika. I mean, folks, watch what's going on up front. These guys are doing really well. Kongaika catches my eye every game he's in. He's just
he only seems to make at least one tackle for loss per game. Yeah, he does flash, when he gets on the field, which is really great, and not bad for a U of A transfer.
That's right. Yep. Yep.
But those were some big plays by Prince Dorba, who got a sack on third down and basically put UCF out of field goal range. CJ Fight had a sack on their last drive of the game, putting them in a I think it was second and long position. So those sacks came at really big times to help get ASU this victory. And we talked about Cam Scattaboo not being in the lineup, and then what that was going to mean for ASU's offense. But Keyshawn Elliott, the middle linebacker, not being in the game against one of the better running backs in the nation, turned out to be a big storyline too, because he was on. There were stretches there where seemed like he was unstoppable.
Right. No, McCullough and I thought did a yeoman's job that day or that game, but
him and Jordan Crook.
Crook, by the way, Crook had 9 tackles, 6 primaries and 3 assists. Crook is really, really. I mean, there's just guys who are just, I can't say enough for Kongaika and for that whole front.
And UCF moved the ball. They got their yards, but when it came down to crunch time, that big fourth down when R.J. Harvey took the direct snap, Miles Rouser and Xavier Alford coming through the A gap and knocking him down short to basically put the game away was huge, and that was really great to see.
Yeah, we talked about that in this last show against the OSU wrap up and the preview to UCF. We kept stressing, turnovers, and they came. Thank goodness they came within the middle 8 too. That was really that fell right into Kenny's game plan, I thought. But we're going to talk about.
Hey, that middle 8 was the difference in the game, and Kenny preaches on that. The last 4 minutes of the first half, first 4 minutes of the second half. That can often dictate the game, and it certainly did in this instance.
Yeah, we forced them into a couple of field goals that they missed, and because it was not the best. Those things were over 45 yards that were both missed. So that's the defense, even though the numbers are not spectacular, it's good enough if you mind the gap and you keep them from getting 6, settle for 3. Kind of a scenario is what I saw.
And that's how they were much of last year, kind of a bend but don't break, wait for your opportunities, let them make the mistake. And, that to a certain extent, that's what it still has been this year, but they're forcing more turnovers. Their pass rush has been a little bit better. You can see them, steadily getting better each week. There's just the little things I'd like to get cleared up, especially when it comes to getting off the field on third down. They were really good about that against OSU, but against UCF, they kind of struggled in stretches with that ultimately led to some scores that maybe would not have happened if, the corners had, because ASU blitzed a lot on passing down. They were we talked about it. That was one of our keys, put some pressure on Rizk during passing downs and make him make some mistakes. And, when they brought pressure, you really wanted to see the corners kind of play up, jam the
Right.
receivers, give the pass rush a little bit more time, get the receivers off their routes. They were, I mean, yeah, those are some bigger physical guys, out there at receiver, but still make them work a little bit. They were just
Mm.
basically running comeback routes every time at the sticks and getting the first down.
Yeah, we talked about it
At
last
the
week.
corners, the corners got to be better and more physical than
I agree. We knew going into this game, and I know they saw it on film because if I can see it, they can see it. um, that they had some speed at the edges. And that
that.
was a big
Kobe
difference.
Hudson looks like an NFL receiver. I'm
I
not.
agree.
I'm not debating that. And I mean, they had another guy that we didn't even talk about. I think it was Randy Pittman who had
Yes.
a nice game too. But and Jacoby Jones, he had 7 catches. So I mean, yeah, they got some guys out there. Certainly, I think Randy Pittman's actually their tight end.
Yes.
But you know, at the same time though, the corners have got us. They played well in stretches. I think they need to get a little more consistent and because when they're bringing pressure, when they're blitzing, you got to let the corners play free and
Yeah.
get physical with some of these receivers, especially at the line of scrimmage, and kind of get them off their routes, mess up the timing a little bit,
Right.
to instead of being scared to death of getting beaten over the top.
Well, and I think by now our DB should understand this conference and these reps, what they call and won't call. So you really should be relying on your experience, and the coaches should be talking to them about, hey, grabbing a jersey is not a big deal in this conference.
Well, yeah,
Slowing
I
them
mean,
down.
especially within about 3 yards,
That's right.
they can, you can get physical with the receiver.
That's right.
It's not gonna be a penalty. Just
All I'm saying.
I'd like to see them be a little bit more physical, especially when we're blitzing. Get
Oh,
these guys off their routes. Mess the timing up. Do
sure.
something to kind of disrupt what the opposing offense is doing, because UCF was moving the chains way too easily on third and fourth
I agree.
and long on passing down.
Oh,
So
they
just
dominated those.
one thing that I kind of nitpicking after a win, but I felt like ASU's defense could have played a little bit better, especially coming off the OSU game, and in this game against a team that was really more of a running team. Granted, UCF, RJ Harvey, he got his yards, especially second half. They did a pretty good job on him in the first half. He wasn't a big factor, but in the second half they let him get away with some runs,
Yeah,
and
I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure.
it was a little nervous there for a while.
I want to keep telling myself this, and that is, if Keyshawn Elliott was in the game, you might have been able to cut that from 127 to under 100, at least, and some of those big ones getting around the edge.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
certainly a possibility.
So I mean, I
But
kind of look, and folks, Keyshawn's going to play, and they won't. And Kenny is playing the long game. He just not like he will not put in players. He'll put them in hurt, but he won't put them in injured. Okay.
yeah, I mean, Cam Scadaboo comes out this week. He came to Kenny middle of the third quarter and was like, "Hey, let me go get suited up. Let me get in the game." And Kenny was like, "Nope, not happening."
Yeah, and you
So,
could see, you could read Cam's face. He was not he was disappointed.
yeah, well,
But guys, who does that? That's a real old school player that wants to say, let me go suit up in the
Willis
third
Reed
quarter.
stuff right there.
He is a throwback in that sense.
Oh man, yeah, that was crazy. But as we do every week here on RWD after a win, our players of the game presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. To support local athletics, check out valleyathleticboosterclub.com. And for me, gotta go. He was one of the big keys of this game last week when we talked about the preview show. Quarterback Sam Levitt, he just continues to go out there and produce, make good big plays. Found Jordan Tyson for a couple touchdowns. He also hit Shimon Medier for one. Didn't really run as much, but because UCF did a good job keeping him contained. But when he needed to, he moved the sticks a couple times with some runs. So to me, he's he's also the Big 12 newcomer of the week for his performance. 16 and 25, 161 yards, and those 3 touchdowns. So he's my player of the week.
That was his highest percentage, too, 63, almost 64%.
Yeah,
Um,
that was just, and
so,
that's a little bit misleading because he threw the ball away on fourth down there at the end of the game. There were a
oh,
couple of throwaways. There were a couple of throwaways
oh
in
yeah,
this game, but I'll tell you that some of these throws that he made were big time. He really stepped up in this game. We needed him to with Cam Sianabu being out,
right.
but I felt like he definitely played about as good of a game as you could ask, and definitely was a big key to the victory. And then the play of the game on defense with Terrence Welch, 4 tackles and a huge pick six right at the end of the half when UCF bumbles the kickoff and gets tackled. The returner, I don't know what he was thinking.
He, he might not know the rules, Ryan. He went back in. He came out and went back in.
All he did was field the ball. He never went out of the end zone. All he got to do was field the ball, take a knee.
That's right. That's right.
How hard is that? Yeah, I'm not complaining. It turned out pretty well for ASU, but I mean, I think ASU's defense was really hyped up after that because not only is UCF pinned back deep, they all thought they had a safety on the return. Turned out the ball was brought out to about the half-yard line, but yeah, next play, you just UCF, you expect them to kind of run the clock, all right? Yeah. And LaTerrence Welch, sorry, a little bit of technical difficulties there, but yeah, LaTerrence Welch takes in the pick six and gives ASU the halftime lead, 21-17. And again, UCF errors, ASU capitalizes, and ultimately makes the difference.
Come on. Hit it.
Your players of the week.
My players. Well, I can't argue with Sam because he is getting 1% better every day. And in between games, you add up 7 days, he's 7% better. And that's statistically, that's where he wound up, 63%.
It certainly feels like it. He definitely is passing the eye test.
Yeah. And that percentage would have gone up nicely had Tyson not dropped this week. So Tyson gets mine, 7 receptions. It's like he has to get a couple. He has to drop a couple. But once he does,
he dropped the one on second down, and then Jake Smith drops the long one on third down, and you were just hanging your head at that if you're a fan at that point because it was very frustrating. But then and he did the same thing against Kansas, coming back after a couple bad plays. He comes up with two big touchdowns.
Well,
in crunch time.
That high pointed ball that Jordan had was beautiful.
On the 3rd and 8, that one helped turn the offense right around. That was a huge play.
And Sam is running around back there, from beyond the hash marks, trying to escape stuff. And he finally runs over to his left, sees it, and just chucks it in his direction. And he goes and high points it for a big. Was that the 29 yard?
That was in double coverage too.
It was.
There were 2 guys right on him. So that was a 20. That was a huge play.
29-yard reception, high pointing it like that. Scouts love that kind of stuff. So and Xavier had another wonderful game, with 9 total tackles, 6 assists, 3 solos. There was a couple of others who had 9. But
him and Rouse are, like I said, combining on that 4th down stop.
Yeah,
that was huge. That really helped kind of put the game away.
Sure.
So, especially as well as UCF was running the ball with Harvey.
And they went right up the A gap, and they knew the formation they was in, the situation, and they just played the odds. They played the film study, and both those guys. And our pad height was really nice on that particular goal. Or I call it goal line, but it wasn't goal line. It was still fourth and inches, and we stopped them.
Short yardage. Yeah.
It just shows to show you how defense. You get a great stop like that, and it's everybody gets fired up. Offense gets fired up. Yeah, because we got great field position at that point, and we just basically played the 4-minute drill from then on. Yep. So those are my 2.
Those are our players of the game, presented by the Valley Athletic Booster Club. And now, as we transition into week 12, it's great to be talking. ASU potentially competing for a championship in November. I mean, it's been a while since we've been able to do that. But ASU's path to the Big 12 is not going to be a direct one. They don't really control their own destiny. Obviously, they need to win out these next 3 games, 2 of which are against ranked teams. So certainly not an easy path, but a visible one. So
Yeah.
they're in striking position, tied for third with a few different teams. Obviously right now with the way the standings are shaken out, tied for third with Kansas State, who they see this week. So this is kind of a championship elimination game on Saturday,
It
and
is.
Iowa State, who obviously ASU doesn't see. But
Or
there's a
Colorado.
little bit of those top 5 teams, BYU, Colorado, and then the 3 in third. After that, there's a little bit of a drop off as far as overall record goes. So ASU, it's pretty simple. They need to win out, but they do need a little bit of help ahead of them. But there is a path for them getting to the Big 12 championship game.
Yeah, it's we tend to be homers, and at the beginning of the season, we all lay out how many wins we
Well,
think
this is
we're
an
going to have.
ASU podcast, not just a college football podcast.
That's right.
So yeah.
But I think we all knew that the talent was there. We knew that the coaching.
Yeah.
What you never know is how well they'll play together. Nobody knows that going into this season.
On the field on Saturday, a lot of things can go wrong, and in ASU's case, they usually do. But this year feels different. Feels like there hadn't really been any expectations on them. They're just going out and proving everybody wrong. It just seems to be their thing this year.
And for fans that are upset that we're not ranked, believe me, we're getting votes.
Oh, the players don't care.
Not right now.
They love it.
Yes.
They love the disrespect. It's fuel.
It is. And so it's.
I'm thrilled. I'm thrilled we're not ranked. I love it.
I know. Well, and I was going to say it again. The only rankings that matter are the college football playoff rankings, and that
at the end of the season.
That's correct.
Right now they're just they're cursory. They're temporary. So whatever happens, you go out there and execute on the field on Saturdays, keep winning the way you have, and upset some of these ranked teams here the next couple of weeks. You'll be ranked. You'll get the national respect that you're looking for if you're one of those ASU fans.
Well, and you're gonna get slotted well in the 12.
Just keep winning. Just keep winning. That's all it takes. That's all it takes.
Stack wins every day. So I have to say this. I really like playing in the Big 12 right now. I mean, it's competitive. There's great football. There's all kinds of great, and there's no super dominant team. It's
a lot of parity.
Well, it gives us.
I like that too.
We can recruit to that. We can we got 3 wide receivers after last week's game.
Love it. That was big. I did like that too. Yes.
Well, I think they all like the possibility of Sam getting balls from Sam. They can see his trajectory, the program's trajectory.
And having Hines Ward coach you doesn't hurt either.
It doesn't hurt. No.
Yeah.
But
that was a nice little cherry on top after this game. Certainly to get and you win games like that in an environment, atmosphere like that, you definitely up your recruiting base. So that was really nice to see too. But talking about the path that ASU needs to take. Obviously, they've got BYU and Colorado sitting on top of the Big 12 standings at the moment. BYU looks like they're going to be in. Obviously, they got ASU in a couple weeks. We'll see what happens there. But they're undefeated. They're 9-0 this year after Saturday's controversial win over rival Utah. Colorado, we thought after that Nebraska game, I thought they would be dead in the water, and they've really come out and played very, very well. They're a little bit of an enigma. You never really know what Colorado team is going to show up,
right?
Especially when they play some of these tougher teams. But they've managed to get it done. They're sitting at 7-2 overall and 5-1 in the conference, so they're in the catbird seat in second place. And then obviously Arizona State, Iowa State, Kansas State, all sitting there at third with the exact same record. And after that, statistically, there's mathematically there's 8 teams that could make it into the Big 12 championship. Not everybody's been eliminated except for those bottom 4. So a lot can happen these last 3 weeks.
That's what I mean.
It's going to be very, very interesting. Must watch TV, I think.
I love I love the parity. I mean, I love the fact that a kid says, "I want to play in this conference because I like the way they play football." And more importantly, they have found a coach who everybody's buying in. They're all playing with his persona, and I think kids, that's pretty infectious to a recruit. And we got we're getting local kids, the ones that are worth it. We're not just giving out Scullies for for warm.
Got our first local recruit for 2026 over the weekend too.
I'm saying we're not just it's gratifying to get a local kid. It's gratifying to get people turning down other programs for us, but as far as the championship goes, man, I think you just got to keep playing one game at a time, and you got to get a little help. All you really want to you just really want to play for second to get in that championship game.
Well, that's all you really need to play for. I mean, as long as you got a place in the Big 12 championship, you're not worried about first. You're just trying to get there.
That's right.
Because then you can actually play for the title game. I think that's all that really matters at that point. So definitely something to watch for. We'll certainly keep an eye on when the fact that you're scoreboard watching as an ASU fan in November is nice. It's very, very nice, especially considering where we expected this team to be. You and I both thought we'd be around 500. So ASU, and with undercounting Dillingham, certainly ahead of schedule as far as where everyone expected them to be.
Exactly.
And now, coming into this week, getting Cam Scatteraboo back, getting Keyshawn Elliott back, ASU looks to be back at full strength. So should be fun to watch here in the next coming weeks.
Yep, it's great that you get two ranked teams down the stretch. You couldn't get a better scenario than that.
Yep. And hey, it all starts this week against the number 16th ranked Kansas State Wildcats in Manhattan, Kansas. Should be an interest. Certainly I call it a hostile environment, even though they're a little bit more of a basketball school, but they've had a lot of success recently with their football program. 2 years ago, they were in the Sugar Bowl and won the Big 12 in 2022. And a lot of people had high hopes for this team coming into this year with, Avery Johnson taking over at quarterback and some of the returning starters that they had. And Chris Kleiman, in his 6th year now at the helm, really has them playing very, very well. He's got a great pedigree. He won 4 FCS championships at North Dakota State, succeeding Craig Bowl. And he has this team playing very, very well. They were, decent. They didn't have a great. They were 9-4 last year. Won the Pop-Tarts Bowl.
That's right.
And they were where they beat NC State. And they're still a very, very good team. They started out the year really strong. They've had a couple of hiccups. Here with that blowout loss to BYU in Provo back in September, and then 2 weeks ago they got upset in Houston by the Cougars, which was kind of a shock given where Houston was a few weeks ago. They're playing a lot better right now, and they played close against some of these better teams. They barely beat Colorado at home. Their rival Kansas, they just knocked off at home as well. That Tulane game earlier in the year was kind of a nail biter as well. So they've had some close calls this year, and then getting upset 2 weeks ago, you have to wonder what this team's mindset's going to be at coming off the bye.
Yeah, losing to Houston, who's been really in the bottom third, who is now surging. They're surging.
Starting to play a lot better. Yeah, and that's going to be an interesting game to watch on Friday night when they play U of A.
Oh yeah.
I'm definitely going to keep an eye on that one. But Kansas State, they've had some close calls. There's a couple games where they've beaten some teams. West Virginia is a good team. Beating them by 27 in Morgantown is certainly a marquee win, I think. But some of these other games that were one score, you have to wonder, which Kansas State team is going to show up on Saturday. But they do play a lot better at home. They're undefeated at home this year. Those 2 losses were on the road. So
they're 4-0 at home, right?
Yep. So no easy task for
just like we are. It's spooky to see how many things that line up together. We both, doubled up on Oklahoma State. We both have same record. We both,
yes, record.
Yeah, and to me, it's this is as big a game for them as it is for us in a lot of ways.
Kansas played us close at home too.
Right.
So yeah,
the similarities are spooky.
Yeah, it is going to be an interesting game on Saturday.
I just think the strength of schedule they have is probably the only reason why you can say that they're number 16, because and some of these teams got better during the year, so that helps their RPI. But,
yeah, the win over Colorado I think is big because they're ranked at the moment.
Yeah, they were show. That's the quality win, and that's why they're ranked.
West Virginia, I think they have a winning record right now. They're not ranked, but still a decent team that's receiving votes right now.
Yeah, and both the Oklahoma State and the West Virginia game were over 40, and I don't care what anybody says, you get style points when you score over 40. So that's I've had lots of people on our chat rooms that are associated with Sun Devil Nation asking about openly questioning why are they ranked and we're not. I said you got to look at the schedules, guys.
Well, and I think they were ranked at the beginning of the year.
They were.
If I'm not mistaken. I think they were. They were ranked number 18 at the beginning of the year. So they've had a couple losses. They fell 10 spots after that loss to BYU, who wasn't ranked at the time.
I watched
Oklahoma State when they beat them was ranked number 20 at the time. So they've had a solid year to this point. I think that the expectations among the fan base was certainly raised after that Sugar Bowl game 2 years ago. But I think with the young quarterback that they have right now, and some of the players and the style that they're playing on both sides of the ball under Kleiman, has them moving in a good direction. So talking about Kansas State's offense, it's looked dangerous at times. They put up 40 points a couple times under former Utah State and Texas Tech head coach Matt Wells, 31 points a game, and they're really dangerous on the ground at over 200 yards a game. And the big reason why is their sophomore quarterback Avery Johnson, who's completing I believe 60% of his passes this year, 61% of his passes this year, or almost 1,900 yards, 17 touchdowns. The 7 interception number is a little kind of an eyebrow raiser. We'll see how he looks throwing the ball coming out on Saturday, but he's also very dangerous on the ground. He can run with just about any quarterback in the nation. 73 carries, 391 yards, and 4 touchdowns on the ground. So he's certainly a true dual threat. He can get out and run and beat just as easily beat you with his arm. Yeah, so he's a very, very good quarterback.
Good-looking athlete. I mean, that game I watched that BYU game, and that's where I kind of, even though they lost, I still said, this kid's got talent, man. This kid, he's an athlete. Just watch how he runs. So very impressive.
6'2", 192 pounds as a sophomore. I see, in his running ability, I see a little bit of Josh Allen in him. He's not the specimen that Allen is necessarily, but certainly a guy who can get out and move the chains well. He can get some yards with his legs. So definitely got to try to keep him in the pocket and minimize the damage that he can do to you. But he's not the only one, because they got a great running back in DJ Giddens as well, as having a nice year. 162 carries, 995 yards on the season. He's averaging, I believe, 6 yards a carry and 5 touchdowns. He's also got 17 receptions, 213 yards and a touchdown on the year, so he can catch the ball a little bit out of the backfield. Just a workhorse guy. He's their primary back, and somebody you got to keep an eye on, because he will beat you if you let him. ASU's rush defense has got to be on point with the quarterback running back combination that they have that can definitely beat you on the ground. That's what they've done all year. They were averaging over 208 yards on the ground.
Right. So we'll talk about in a few minutes how you neutralize, or what's the game plan from our perspective to shut these two down. Just a side note, Kenny Dillingham, Coach Kenny did, in fact, recruited Avery for at Kenny's last 2 stops on his career. So he's very familiar with him, very familiar with the family.
Yeah, so yeah, watched a lot of film on him, so hopefully he knows how to approach him in this game.
Yeah. I think everything that he did in his recruiting is not, I'm sure, and all the film study and everything has all been matriculated down to the position coaches and the OC, or the DC, more importantly, on how to stop him.
Yep.
So,
and then as far as the rest of Kansas State's offense, not a great passing offense. They're averaging about 214 yards a game, but when you're rushing for over 200 yards a game, you don't really need to be that great through the air, just good enough to kind of keep teams honest. Jace Brown has been their leading receiver this year, 33 receptions, 604 yards, 3 touchdowns. Keegan Johnson's been a nice complementary piece, 27 receptions, 340 yards, and a touchdown. They use the tight end very, very well. They got 4 guys that they'll work in. They'll use 2 tight ends a lot in this offense, 2 or 3 tight ends quite a bit.
Yeah, they do 13 personnel quite a bit.
Oh, yeah. And Garrett Oakley's been their leading receiver at the position, 13 receptions, 319 yards, 3 touchdowns. But their other tight ends, Braden Lofton, Will Ancio, and Will Swanson, each have 2 or more touchdowns each. So they'll definitely get them involved, especially in the red zone. So definitely got to keep an eye out for them. That was a problem for ASU on Saturday against UCF. Yep. They kind of lost UCF's tight end, Randy Pittman.
Right, he had a good game.
Good game. He had a couple big plays. So definitely got to keep an eye on those tight ends. They like to use the play action. Once they establish the run game, that they use the play action very, very well. So definitely got to keep those clear eyes. No dirty eyes in the backfield.
Right.
And, keep your assignment as far as the receivers go. So, and then Kansas State on defense, one of the best rush defenses in college football. They're giving up less than 100 yards a game, 21 points a game, which is pretty good, and which is unusual because for the 3-3-5, the old joke with the 3-3-5 is that's how many rush yards you give up when you play that defense.
You got the personnel.
Well, yeah, they play it. Yeah, they play it extremely well. I mean, that's the defense that they've instituted here, and with defensive coordinator Joe Klanderman, who's been there for nearly the entire time Kleiman has. He's got the personnel to run it now. And those 2 linebackers, the two Austins, Romaine and Moore, are big catalysts as to why. Romaine's the tackling machine, plays the middle spot. He's got almost 70 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. Austin Moore plays the outside spot, 4 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks. And then they got a couple good safeties. The one being Marquis Sigel, 39 tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 3 interceptions. So he's having himself a nice year, kind of the ball hawk safety back there. And then some of their other defense. As we go to the next slide. Defensive end Brandon Mott, their big pass rusher. He's got 8 sacks on the season. And then I think Jordan Riley Scott's their nickel corner. He's got 3 pass defense, and they'll blitz him quite a bit off the edge because he's got a sack, a couple tackles for loss on the season as well. So,
I haven't watched it.
They shut down the run.
They do.
They're a lot like UCF. They got a couple big defensive tackles that'll eat space and create opportunities for the linebackers. So they're going to be tough to run on, even though they run a defense that traditionally you can run against, but they the way they operate it, they do it extremely well, and they're going to be very tough to run against.
As I recall, they line up, hat to hat, and as time goes by, they start
straight up.
They spread out about a half a helmet to one side or the other, and it takes a while to adjust to that too, as to what they're doing.
Not a defense you see very much in the Big 12.
No,
really.
3-3-5, no, it's rare. But I'll always say it: if you got a really good nose guard, you can play the 3-3-5 because that nose guard has got to be more athletic than most nose guards. 1 and 2, they have to engage with that center, and they have to look in the right gap or the right A gap and the left A gap to make the call, to be in position. So it's a lot of responsibility in that 3-3-5 has on the nose guard. But So that's our take on the
Yeah,
defense.
that's our defense, and then our keys to the game, presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, a great nonprofit that builds beds for families in need. Please support Sleep in Heavenly Peace. And for me, starts with the quarterback. As I said last week, you got to leave it to Sam. Well, now you got to play it again, Sam. The team, they need another strong performance from Sam Levitt to kind of get that offense going, because Kansas State is going to key in on Cam Scottaboo. Looks like he is going to play. So they're going to key in on him, trying to shut down ASU's rushing attack. So it's going to fall on Sam Levitt's arm. Got to move this offense down the field and hopefully put some points on the board again. Hopefully ASU can wear them down, get that running game going at some point. But it's at some point they are going to need to rely on Sam Levitt's arm and hit his receivers and have another strong game in order to have a chance to come away with the W. And then on defense, then this is a big one. You got to control the line of scrimmage and limit Giddens and Johnson's rushing attack. That's a big part of their offense. They average over 200 yards a game on the ground. If you can be disciplined, gap sound, and take away those running lanes, keep Johnson in the pocket, just don't give them opportunities. Don't let them beat you, because that is their bread and butter. That is their primary method of attack on offense is the rushing attack. Make Johnson beat you with his arm and put that on them, kind of get them out of their flow, out of their usual game plan, and just do what you can to stop them on the ground.
Mm-hmm. So I see it exactly as you do. So ball control, and don't give up on the run unless you're down by 2 scores. In the fourth quarter, you're going to have to throw the ball. But Cam doesn't need a great game. Cam, to me, needs a good game. He's the key man. They're going to try to stop him. Obviously, they're going to key on him. So there may be other opportunities, but I think you're right. Sam statistically has had his best game, and every game is getting better and better. So I'm saying that he's got to do this. He's got to create another record performance in order for us to have a shot. And then and I'm exactly like you. The 2 running backs, they're explosive, but don't give these big explosive plays on 3rd and 4th down. Limit them to 1st and 2nd down. And again, the final thing we've all learned this year, that how important the middle eight is. It statistically works.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things.
In the middle 8, you give yourself a chance. You give yourself a chance to win. A very good chance.
Very high correlation.
They're outscoring teams by like 50 points in the middle 8 this year. So it's been a big reason why they've been so successful.
Yep, and I think they'll just keep on doing it and keep finding a way. And we saw Parker Lewis last week. He's got a big leg, folks. I don't. This whole kicking controversy, I think, is dealt with now. But if that's the only thing Kenny really did wrong this year, I can't fault him, because it's a third of the game and we were giving up points that we really could have used in some of these games.
Yeah.
So winning the middle 8 can be a field goal just before half, especially if you're getting the ball right away second half, or if you make a stop and you go score right away. That's a big, it's a statistical correlation, highest correlation to victory.
Hey, against a team like this, you got to take every advantage you can get, every opportunity, every mistake that they make.
Yeah.
You got to make them pay for it. So, that's how you win. That's how you win games against ranked teams. Is you got to make them mistakes, but you've also got to execute when you're given opportunities. And that's something ASU is going to definitely need to do on Saturday.
Yeah, you got in a lot of ways this game plan is kind of similar to the Central Florida game plan. Really, stop the run, keep trying to run. If that don't work, then you've got to do it through the air. But we were just, and I thought we did a very nice job of containing the UCF quarterback and kept everything to a minimum. So these are the same principles in this game.
Yeah, and K-State is a little bit more of a running team. They have a dual threat quarterback but there is some similarities as far as stopping the quarter, stopping the running game as much as you can, and you know, trying to win through trying to score some points through the air as well. It's going to be very crucial. So those are our keys to the game, presented by Sleep in Heavenly Peace, and it's prediction time. I just don't know if ASU is going to be able to slow down K-State's offense. They're had so much success running the ball. It's going to be tough for ASU to shut them down. I got K-State winning by 4. I just don't know if ASU's got what it takes as far as firepower goes to keep up with K-State. I was a little bit disappointed in the defense last week, even though they came up with the pick 6 and a big stop and late in the fourth quarter. But on the road, and they haven't played very well on the road, and going up against a ranked team like this, I'm going to say I am certainly rooting for ASU, but my head's going with K-State.
Something we haven't talked about, but that environment at night is loud.
Yeah.
It's noted. It's a very, very loud and energized crowd. That
hostile environment.
It's not going to be. And to me, that's always worth 3. So, but I think we make a very similar to last week in terms of the game plan. I was this morning. I was saying K-State was going to win. As soon as I found out Cam is going to play, I have to believe that Cam is. Well, he doesn't. I say he might not. He doesn't have to have a great game. He has to have a good game. They have to respect our run when he's in the game. Let's put it, when he's in, they're going to have somebody spying him, or maybe 2, because they can throw to him. So that creates mismatches. So I'm going with ASU just because I just think it's not. It's a great story. It's not a Cinderella thing. I mean, by any means, we have 2 losses, but I think we have definitely rebounded from those 2 losses. I think winning on the road is going to be really, they're going to have to suck it up and not pay and kind of thrive on that negative energy.
Championship game, you're going to have to win on the road. So
exactly. So if you really if you want to fulfill all the goals that you've set for yourself out there this year, team, this is a good one. It's not to say that if we lose, the season's lost, but not by any means. You still have another ranked team in BYU, and you have the Territorial Cup game, which you throw out all the records and throw out all the prognostication. That thing is wild. So,
definitely should be an interesting game, and we'll certainly be watching. But that'll do it for us here on RWD. As always, like and subscribe down below to check the comments as well. And, for now, we say goodnight. Go Devils. Sports stuff. At the Wildcats.